In this video, I'll talk about how I think the concept of deliberate practice applies to the improvement process in speed cubing. I think that for many cubers, it's very easy and comfortable to just learn some algorithms, learn some techniques, do lots and lots of solves, and then hope that you get faster that way. I think that to some extent, you can naturally and passively learn things by just doing heaps and heaps of speed solves, but I don't think that works for everyone, and being deliberate about what you do is always way better. Doing lots and lots of repetitive practice is great to reinforce habits, but if your technique and your habits are not good, then it can definitely be detrimental. And so that's where the idea of deliberate practice comes in, which is about establishing structured, goal-oriented practice, which is vastly different from just doing lots of speed solves over and over again. The thing with deliberate practice is that it can be mentally challenging and tiring, and you will really feel you're pushing yourself quite hard. But the theory is that this act will actually improve your capabilities significantly. Examples of deliberate practice are just anything that's intentional. It can be as easy as sitting down and doing solves with a focus on being really fluent, or it can be as specific as learning and practicing a better finger trick for an algorithm that you know. The whole idea behind deliberate practice is to continually self-evaluate, look for ways you can improve, and then figure out ways to do so. And the other thing with deliberate practice is you should constantly be seeking some form of feedback. So for most people in speed solving, this will probably be just keeping a record of your solve times. So now in speed cubing, I think there's definitely a big place for deliberate practice and acquiring new skills and improving your weaknesses, but I also think it's important to simply do lots of solves. The reason for that is whilst deliberate practice is great, it's very tiring, and I think you really do need to spend time and let yourself just relax, do lots of solves, and let everything that you're learning and practicing just sink in. When you learn something new, whether that be a new technique or a new algorithm, it takes time before this becomes automatic and the thinking slows down your solves initially. In order to make new algorithms or techniques automatic in your solves, you just need to grind it out, and doing lots and lots of solves will help transform what you've consciously learnt into a subconscious action. For me, I generally spend around 50% of my time doing deliberate practice and the remaining 50% doing just speed solves. But that's just me. You can change those percentages to something that suits you a bit more. The last thing I'm going to do in this video is just show you a visual graph to roughly demonstrate the improvement process in speed cubing. I first saw this in a video by Noah Arthurs, and I think it's a really nice way of showing how the combination of deliberate practice and mindless repetitive practice combine to make you a better speed cuber. So I've altered the axes a little bit. Basically, we've got this graph, and on the vertical axis, we have your skill or ability, and on the horizontal axis, we have speed. So speed is here, and we'll call this skill. Obviously, your ultimate goal is to get to a point up here where you have a lot of speed and a lot of skill in solving the Rubik's Cube. However, you can't do that without first starting down here in the bottom left. So that's what he called the mountain, which essentially you need to climb. So if this point is your goal, and let's say a point down here is your starting point, like that, how exactly do we climb from here to here? And what's the combination of deliberate practice and repetitive practice that we do to actually get from there to there? So one example of deliberate practice, which takes the form of learning a new skill, is learning F2L. So if you're at this point and you learn the F2L techniques, then you'll probably move to somewhere up here, like that, where once you've learnt F2L, you might be slowed down initially, so you have a lower speed from there to there, but you'll have a lot more skill up here. Now at this point, you'll have this skill in your head and you'll have the ability to solve F2L, but it won't be subconscious at all and you'll be thinking a lot during your solves, which means your solves will be quite slow. The challenge now is to make these F2L techniques automatic and subconscious so that you can move from this point here to this point here. This is where I think that if you have good habits and good techniques, doing lots of repetitive solves will actually get you a significant way from this point here to this point here. Obviously, F2L is probably the biggest thing that you'll ever learn in speed solving, and so beyond here, the improvements are more incremental and a little bit smaller. But the basic principle remains that these vertical components where you're actually improving your skill and not necessarily your speed. So this is deliberate practice designed to specifically improve one aspect or one component of your solves. Then in the horizontal parts, you're doing a lot of practice and a lot of grinding to actually make the techniques that you've learnt and the good habits automatic, so you can get faster and not have to think about them in your solves. This is ultimately a neat way of visualizing the improvement process in speed cubing and highlights the need for both skill improvement via deliberate practice and then lots of sort of mindless repetitive practice to actually implement these new skills into your speed solves and make them subconscious.